You're listening to Back Pew Convos.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Sal. And this is the podcast God wants you to listen to.
So if you want to remain in God's will, have a sit down.
Grab a beverage of your choice.
And have a listen.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hola.
Andrew's here. And he's going to remain silent because he forgot his microphone, headphones, XLR cable.
Just here so you have something better to look at than usual.
Yes. It's here to improve the aesthetic, maybe.
This is what happens when you decide to record the day after Christmas, whenever everybody else has a lot of other things going on.
Exactly.
But here we are, regardless.
I literally just had a thought that maybe we should stop this.
I had the same thought before I ever got here.
Is that a conviction, or?
No. Actually, what I was thinking was, instead of just having you guys share the one mic, I could move my mic between us as well, and then maybe we could pick up all of us.
Yeah, but the audio would still suck. The audio is going to be better quality this way, right? It's just going to be a little more inconvenient for these two dudes.
I guess.
I like to bring Sal down with me.
All right, then you guys do that, and I will sit here and do my thing as normal. If there's one person in this whole crew that needs to have a mic in front of them at all times, it's obviously me.
Probably true, actually.
All right, well,
anything that can prevent me from spewing nonsense is a benefit to have.
Well,
Let me just take Sal's mic and he can just sit there. Just if he has a response, he raise his hand and we grant him permission or not.
smile and nod. That whole thing. Yeah. Well, dadgummit, we're just entirely unprepared for this whole endeavor, are we not? Because we don't have a topic either, huh? Not really?
Not a straightforward, strict topic, no. I mean, when we were talking about topics, and I kind of talked about this the last time that we talked, where my mind just hasn't really been theologically based lately. It's been more around like practicality, like how do I live my faith, so much more than trying to figure out what it is that my faith consists of. And so part of that coming into the Christmas season is just the overwhelmingness of the season itself. You had kind of talked recently about feeling, I don't think you used the term burnt out, but I don't remember what the term was, where you're like, you've been putting in a lot of hours at work and trying to be present at ball games and just everything to where you felt like you just didn't have any more capacity. You know what I mean? And I resonate with that. And as we were getting close to the Christmas day, I was sort of thinking about Christmas is different when you're 40 because you're like, if I live to 80, I've still got another 40 Christmases to go. Why should this one be special? You know what I mean? But my son will never have another fourth Christmas. And so this is the only time that I'm going to get his 4-year-old Christmas. And I felt like I kind of missed a lot of it because I had so much other stuff going on where I'm running here, there. I'm trying to be present everywhere, trying to be present at work. I'm trying to be a good husband. I'm trying to be a father. I'm trying to keep up on my own spirituality. I'm trying to do the podcast. I'm trying, you know what I mean? And
Right.
It just makes you feel like you miss certain things. It's just little stuff. Like I didn't watch some of the Christmas movies we always watch.
Right.
We didn't go look at Christmas lights at Panther Creek. Panther Creek. Like, it's little stuff like that. But he's only going to be 4 this one time. You know what I mean? And so, like, you feel, then you have guilt associated with that. And it's sort of a feeling of sadness because you're like, I'm missing it. And just being aware of missing it is enough. You know what I mean? So that's what I was feeling when I suggested, like, what if we just talked about, like, just life, practicality of life, and sort of the because I do feel like, in a sense, this has always existed, but it is sort of a modern problem too, where the life that we all live is just so stretched thin. You know what I mean? So that's where this idea came from, I guess.
I think actually that is the language that I used when I said that. I feel like I've been stretched a little thin, trying to do all of the things.
And then knowing that we were going to have Andrew on, he's got 2 kids, so like if anybody knows the feeling of being stretched thin, it's somebody who is self-employed that has 2 children and a wife and is active in church, has his own podcast, and
They call me Stretch.
so, I mean, if there isn't any better example of what we're talking about, we're starting an hour late today, and we are sharing a microphone because we forgot one. You know what that's a result of? Stretch thin.
Yeah. It is funny how quickly you can switch vibes, because I don't feel as stretched thin today. And also, I don't feel, I guess I feel like there's, I mean, I already kind of said this, I guess, whenever we talked about it, but like, there's always going to be things to study. There's always going to be things to think through. There's always going to be things to be like, well, what do I think about that? What do I believe about that? So it's not necessarily that I'm like, settled 100% on in that way, and like now I'm in like put it into practice mode per se. But it's I guess there is the additional stress that comes from deconstruction, the additional like I mean, stress isn't really the word that I want to use, but I can't think of the one that is more appropriate. But like whenever you're deconstructing, like actually deconstructing, not just like rethinking some things, but like actually and I guess what I mean is like I think there is a difference between what I experienced and what other people would say like I just studied this thing and like now I see it differently. You know what I mean?
It's almost funny that you started talking about this, because when I was running this morning, I was literally thinking about asking you both if you would still describe your experience as going through a deconstruction, or if you just thought that maybe you were just rethinking or come to a better understanding of what it was you believed. So it's funny that you went that way, because that's literally where my mind was this morning for no reason, and we haven't even talked about anything.
So funny you say that, because I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and I can't remember who it is. You guys would hate it. I'm sure. But they said if you came away with I'm paraphrasing because it's been a week, but something like if you came away from your deconstruction still believing that Jesus is the Son of God, some version of normal Christianity, then you didn't deconstruct. And that's not a shot at you. It's just, that's not what deconstruction means. And I thought, I don't know about that. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, maybe. That might be right. Depends on your definition. But I probably didn't deconstruct. I more like had the Lord come sit down and say, hey, you got this wrong. Or a lot of it, probably 90% of it, I'm going to help you for the next 100 years or however long you live, kind of straighten some of it out. Where I'm at in that process, I don't know, but I think that they might have been right for me anyway. I don't know that they're right for everybody, but that got me thinking maybe I didn't deconstruct, at least for the definition they were using.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was trying to get at is that I think that there is a difference between. I used to would have said that deconstruction is just rethinking things. I don't know that I would say that still. I think there's a very specific element of the rethinking that you transition from just rethinking things to actually deconstructing is what I'm thinking.
Right.
I don't know how to really articulate that super well, but I do think that there is a turn in which you're not just rethinking things, but you are literally and I think it has to do with the manner in which it affects you is when it becomes a deconstruction. Like for me, it literally came down to the point. I think deconstruction is a good metaphor because it's literally taking everything apart. And like I felt like not just my theology, but Sean, was being taken apart in the process of it. If you don't feel that, then I don't know if you deconstructed. You know?
Right. Well, and that's why I was asking the question. It's because I would agree. I've come to a better understanding, I think, or I would describe it as a better understanding of there being an actual difference between just rethinking things and a full-on deconstruction. And so that's what made me think about, like, would you guys consider what you went through a deconstruction, or did you just rethink some stuff? You know what I mean? Like, I would say for me personally, I went through the full-on straight-up deconstructions. Yeah, still.
Yeah.
So, but I definitely have recognized that difference between the two things, That's where that question comes in for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have to haggle over whether you actually deconstructed or not, you probably didn't. You know what I mean? And I think if Sean thinks he did, then he did. If I think I didn't, then I didn't. That's real life. We're talking about real life. It only matters what I think if I'm not asking somebody else what they think. So I don't know, but just from me looking into y'all, I would say probably from my definition is somewhere between that crazy person I was listening to and Sal's. And from my perspective, I'd say both of y'all deconstructed, but it's nuances. But it's irrelevant whether you call it that or not. But I don't think I did because I never undid the foundation from Bible school and Sunday school and all that was that God is good. But then I got a lot of garbage piled on top of that foundation. Right. And so I feel like there was no house there to deconstruct. It was more like somebody just had to come in and get the trash out of there so that you could keep going from where you left off. And that's where I'm at. So, yeah, I did feel like I was being taken apart, like what you were saying, but for a very short time because it went from a really horrible experience to a really good experience quickly. It wasn't a long, drawn out, feeling terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I felt that through the whole, I said that I would have said that I spent 10 years deconstructing. I don't know that that's wrong necessarily, but I guess with the definition that I laid out, I guess maybe it's not because, at a certain point, you think you've talked your way all the way out of it. You think that you've thought your way all the way out of it. That's where I came to anyway.
Right. I think for me, like the reason where I draw the delineation for myself is that I didn't just like rethink things within the same religious structure or box. Like I literally deconstructed the whole thing and explored other paths of spirituality. Even to this day, I still read, Hindu literature, Buddhist literature, Jewish, like different streams of thought. So for me, that's sort of the biggest factor as to why I wouldn't say I just rethought stuff. It's because I completely left the box that I was in. You know what I mean? And so I think that you can only describe that as a deconstruction. Like but the entire structure of my faith used to fit this one architecture, and I completely deconstructed that and have built back something that is wholly other than what it was prior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the only thing that I held on to in my whole process was, I don't really know how to explain it other than like, because it is based on my experiences, but like, I didn't know what I believed, but I believed that if there was a God, and that was a big if for me, and it was an if I actually say that still, but it's now a faith statement rather than a doubt statement, if that makes sense. Like I used to would have said it, and it was a doubt statement. If God's real, then God has to be this God that I have had these experiences with, this God that, like you were saying, that God is actually good. I just couldn't make sense of how the beliefs that were given to me
Right.
made sense of a God that is good. And so I think even through my darkest days, I think that and I wouldn't have realized it in the moment, but like in retrospect, looking back on it now, I think that I was like held by that. Like that, I felt like I was held onto, even though I wasn't holding on to anything, I was being held onto by those experiences, by this God who was patient with me, through that whole process. And so, yeah, but like, as far as like what I believed, I had let literally everything go to the point where like, I was like, I don't know that I believe anything, but if I do, God looks like this, has to look like this. So, I don't know. I would call that deconstruction, but
Well, and that's the thing about deconstruction is that it's really individualized, right? Like there's no I'm sure that there probably is out there some sort of formal academic definition for what deconstruction is, but
yeah,
none of the three of us are academics. So
very true.
so, and this is sort of kind of what you were saying. It's really individualized. Like, do you think that you did or not? Okay, and then what do you do with that, or what do you not? You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. Like, I'm not going to argue with somebody like, no, you did it. I'm more deconstructed than you are. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But it's just interesting for me. I've spent a whole lot of time. I know this probably says a lot about me, actually, but I've realized, I thought about this today. I realized I've spent a lot more time within the last 6 months sort of thinking through, I guess maybe you would say psychoanalyzing people, and myself included, and thinking through why we believe the things we do more so than actual theology. Like, what little theology I have been thinking through is usually only related to thinking through what other people believe and why they believe it. You know what I mean? So that naturally the deconstruction question arises out of that sort of thought experiment.
Yeah. I didn't really intend to talk about deconstruction today, but
Well, I'm here. I bring the party wherever I go.
so I am interested though to I mean, I know you've probably talked about this at some point whenever you've been on before, but like do you recall, was there like and you already said you don't really know that you deconstructed, but like you're rethinking, whatever you want to call it, is there like a particular moment in which you were like, all right, I don't know what I believe about this anymore? Like, can you recall the exact moment or what it was?
Yes. June. I can never remember what day Jeb was born on, if it was the 16th or the 17th.
Oh, yeah.
But the birth of my first kid, I said, nah, there is no possible way that what I believe about God is true. I can't possibly love my son more than God loves everything else, because that is the theology I have right now. This coming to pass, this kid coming into the world, and me, I would, I always say stuff crazy just to make a point. It's not true. I don't know, but I always say I would kill everybody here for him. I hope that's not true to some regard. In other regards, I'm proud of that fact. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like he would. I felt like he did not feel anywhere near that kindly about me as I did about my son, who I just met. So yes, there was one instant moment where I'm like, no, everything. And we say everything is wrong with my theology. That's not necessarily true. It's just something at the core is wrong, which is thereby going to affect everything else. And the core was, I didn't actually believe he was good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess I thought Jesus was good, but I didn't know about his dad, you know.
Yeah.
That's the problem, because I already said that the foundation was love and good and whatever, and I trusted Jesus. I wasn't too sure about the other guy.
About his
Well,
dad.
actually, I was pretty sure. It just wasn't coming out good for me. But I don't feel that way now. And so, yeah, there was a moment.
You were pretty sure that if his dad would murder him, then he's
He would sure as heck murder me.
exactly. Yeah. I was just curious because I mean I knew that element of your story, but I guess what I'm thinking is like it is curious to me that because tons of people have kids and don't change their theology. You know what I mean? Like why is it I wondered
I have issues, Sean.
Well, I do think there is something about like we all have that one thing within us that is just like the key for us that clicks for us. You know what I mean? Like because we all a way of saying it, I guess we all speak different languages. Like what resonates with one person may not resonate with me, and vice versa. We all have that one thing that just it clicks. You know what I mean? Like, because for me, you know, I started deconstruction, but my deconstruction way before Finn was born. But like now that I have a son, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know what I mean? But that wasn't really the key for me because it happened before that for me. But and you don't have kids, but you went through it too. You know what I mean? Like we all have that one thing in our life that like that is a trigger or that resonates with us, and yeah. I don't know why that is, but it is.
Yeah. No, I was just curious because I mean, it seems like there had to have been something, already inside of you, maybe like already something that experience just triggered it. That maybe other people that have kids also don't necessarily have. You know, there had to have been something, that triggered it.
Well, what I like that what you said is you kind of phrased it as though it wasn't that your entire theology was wrong necessarily, but it was something core that reverberates into everything else. And I think that that's a key thing, but especially on the topic we were talking about with like deconstruction versus rethinking, right? Because you can rethink something like the afterlife, right? Is it eternal conscious torment, annihilation, universalism? And that's just rethinking a topic. That's not a deconstruction per se. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you're just rethinking through one aspect of your faith.
Yeah.
But when you talk about something like what you're talking about, that's like a core foundational sort of, that's why I think deconstruction is such an appropriate phrasing, because you pull out one of those foundational blocks, the whole structure collapses. You know what I mean? And that's really a sort of a deconstruction in a way. I mean, it may not be a complete deconstruction, which is probably what I think you would say. Like you didn't completely level the whole thing and start all over again from scratch, but you pull out some stuff that was pretty foundational, you know, that had to be built upon.
Mm-hmm.
I think I termed it once when me and Peyton were talking about this as remodeling. Like that's what I do for a living, and sometimes when I leave, it looks a lot like it did when I got there, but fresher and newer. And then sometimes it looks like a completely different house. And that's probably more of a definition of what I did. But even to your point about the reverberating through everything, even something as simple as rethinking the afterlife, if you go from eternal conscious torment to I don't know where I am, but I know I ain't that can reverberate through a lot of other stuff, because
Absolutely.
that goes to, I think that was one of your big things in causing all this, and probably part of one of my things, because I dabble in Calvinism, not because I believe it, but because I like a lot of the leading voices. And when they're not talking about Calvinism, I'm a big fan. The John Pipers, John MacArthur's, even Sproul. I love a lot of what they have to say, as long as they're not talking about God. I couldn't help it. That's too good. So I had a little of that Calvinism rolling around in me, because you're going to pick some of it up, you know. And that when I saw my kid, I'm thinking, there's no way that there's no way that God set this up to where he's got possibly a 3% chance of being elect.
Yeah.
It's not happening. If it is, I think I'm probably going to check out of this thing.
Right.
This situation. So it all, to me, it did reverberate. That was part of the equation, was the afterlife thing reverberating through everything else I had already been taught and came to believe.
Yeah, right. Like I think it's to that specific example, like once you start, and we talked about this a little bit last week, it's like once you start to question and rethink through like what it actually means to say God is good, like you only, because last week what we talked about was regarding the afterlife was how a lot of we were talking about Kirk Cameron, how he moved, he's embraced annihilationism or whatever, and we talked about how there seems to be sort of a move from a pretty quick jump from annihilationism to universalism, usually. And that's because, generally speaking, like a lot of what factors into people moving away from eternal conscious torment is just thinking through God's goodness and like
justice.
And once you think through it, annihilationism makes more sense than eternal conscious torment, but only in relation to it, like not when you think that there's still. So I think you do tend to see a small stopping point there at annihilationism before you inevitably go. But I think it's you don't start with thinking about the afterlife and then that's more of a result of rethinking the goodness of God, which reverberates to the afterlife. And it's really one of my main themes throughout this entirety of the show is just thinking all the way through our doctrines and the things we say, not pulling one thing out, but you have to think how in theology, everything is connected to everything else. So you cannot say one thing and be like, well, that's totally different. It's not related to the afterlife or what I believe about them. No, everything is connected. So like you can't just say something without thinking through the implications all the way through. And I think that that's one of the really things that modern, especially evangelical Christianity does a poor job of. We're really good at picking out certain things and being like, no, the Bible says this about this topic. But then we just leave it at that. We don't think, oh, but if you believe that, how does it reverberate on down the stream,
If you believe one thing in Genesis, it's probably going to have repercussions in Revelation. To your point about the theme, me and Lucas talked about it a while back, and it's not left my mind yet. But if you alter your theology based on something you read in Deuteronomy, if you keep reading, eventually you're going to come across the situation where that change affects something you're reading now.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to establish a theme, and so far Lucas can say it a lot better than I can about like summarizing his theme, but my theme is God is for me. And I don't know what all that does, but when I come to a scripture and scratch my head, and y'all say it all the time about the Old Testament sketchy situations, but when I come to those, I have to bounce those off of. I already have a theme established here, and I'm not shaking that theme, and that theme is God is for me. He was for them, and he'll be for the next ones.
Yeah.
And so if I let every little thing I read that sounds fishy affect my theme, my core, what I believe, then it'd be a constant deconstruction, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm out on that. I'm done. I hope I'm done with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I think that we've said it before is like God is love. Like that, if that is your core conviction that God is love, that God really is good, that God actually loves everyone, then if you're, I don't know, I started to say something, but it's not even kind of scratching the surface of the complexity of the thing. But like I don't understand the cognitive dissonance. I don't understand how, like, does not everybody, and I actually know this isn't true, but like it seems to me that everyone would read certain things and be like, that doesn't make sense with God as I know God to be all loving and all of the things, the characteristics of God and all loving, all knowing, all powerful, omnipresent, all the things, good. goodness, beauty, and truth itself. Like, it would seem to me that anyone reading the scriptures is going to come across things like that and be like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know what to do with that. But then I don't know. Sometimes it seems as though the cognitive dissonance is just so much that I don't understand why everyone isn't deconstructing.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't understand how anybody is, because like you said, I mean, it once you see it, like what I think I'm really stumbling through this, but like what I'm hearing whenever you're saying that is like you have recognized this and made the choice that my faith will not be shaken by this reading of this scripture that seems to fly in the face of everything I know to be true about God. But I don't, unless you've had that experience that you're talking about, I don't know how you read the scriptures and aren't shaken.
Constantly deconstructing.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's literally my story. I mean, really, that's what happened to me. When his catalyst was the birth of his son. For me, it was reading the Bible for myself. Yeah. Literally. Like I had grown up my entire life being told if every single bit, if there's one detail in this thing that isn't literally true, then you might as well throw the whole thing away because you can't trust any of it. And I actually read the thing for myself from cover to cover. And you can only do that so many times before you're like, wait a minute. Yes. Things aren't adding up here. But if you've been told for 22 years that if there's even one detail off, you might as well throw the whole thing away. What do you do with that? That was the catalyst. If I had to pinpoint one catalyst for my deconstruction, that was it. I literally just read the Bible for myself and realized like everything that I had been sold about this is a lie. Like it just doesn't hold the weight that I was told it holds. And it took me another 10 years to work through that from that one thing, Yeah. Because you're right. Like to your point, like I think that was my exact takeaway from where I was at when I first came across that and first started to deconstruct was like, I don't know how people read this and claim I probably would have had some colorful language for it, claim the crap that they claim, because it's just, the only way to do it is to just pinch your nose and swallow it, and digest it. I mean, I don't know how you get around it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seemed like this is not the topic we were supposed to be talking about, but it's perfect. But it's perfect. I mean, I feel like I see the same type of stuff every day. Like, not that I'm advanced beyond the average Christian, because I can guarantee you in a lot of ways that's not true. Probably always, but I see people who have been doing this their whole life, longer than me, still blown around like a pinball every time they read the Bible. And I am too at times, but it's not, that pinball machine is not my whole life. Where I'm shaking at is usually in one little area of my theology, but I just see it all the time. 70-year-old people, 60-year-old people, whatever, that have walked with the Lord a lot longer than I have, probably closer than I have, but it seems like, I don't know, but it seems like they've never established that theme or their core belief or whatever, because every time they read this, they either are like the silliest excuse to excuse it away, which we see all the time, or, well, actually, I don't know there's probably 3 or 4 different ways, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, just burying your head up.
Yeah, yep, just like what you were saying. What's that saying? I was trying to think of it when you said that. It's something despite your face, something your nose despite your face, but that would have been the perfect saying, but I can't remember how it goes. But that's right, just burying your head and walking through it anyway, holding your nose while you walk through this stinky situation, just so you don't have to smell it or think about it or whatever. That tends to be what most people do.
Do you think that part of that is the predisposition in modern, at least our strands of Christianity that we're most familiar with, which I would just refer to as evangelical Christianity. To always have an answer, to be like, seems like that strand, that kind of Christianity is very intimately tied to the importance of right belief. You have to have the right doctrines, the right beliefs. So you always have to have an answer. So like, that's one of the big changes for me from where, like, when I started my deconstruction to where I am now, is like, when I will read something that I don't know how to deal with, that will paint God into a negative light if I read this literally, there are times when you may ask me, what does this mean? And my answer is, hell if I know. You know, like, I don't know. I hold that with an open hand. Like, I can tell you what I think it doesn't mean. You know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to tell me that God, on one hand, has the ability to save all, but just chooses like 3% or whatever to be the elect and save, like, I don't believe that. I don't know what it does mean, but I can tell you I don't believe that. You know, but I think that that's something you have to grow into, is that comfort with uncomfortability, or with uncertainty. Comfort with uncertainty a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Because there are some, I don't know, like, there's some stuff in there that I don't know that you have a good answer for, like, or I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of actually one of the funny things about where I'm at with my faith today, is I probably have less answers than I've had in my entire adult life.
I don't know why I get so passionate, like on Wednesday nights or Sunday mornings, like when we're talking theology, about arguing when people say something crazy. I don't know why I'm so passionate about arguing with them, because I'm like, any other situation besides the one you just happened to pick a scab on, I don't know either. I'm wrong about that too. So why am I so anxious to defend that? But yeah,
I think for me, it's I think that it's the foundation. Like, I think if the foundation isn't, if someone is, like, when you're talking about saying, like, someone saying something crazy and like feeling the need to defend that, for me, that rises up within me when it's a foundation thing, because I don't I don't have everything figured out either. And like, there's plenty of things that I would be like, oh yeah, I have no idea what I think about that or whatever. But like, I still think that, like, if something is being said that flies right in the face of the goodness of God, of that foundation, I think that it has to be addressed. I mean, I'm sure other folks will disagree with me on that. I think some things are worth debating. Some things are worth arguing over. Some things are, I mean, and maybe those are the wrong words, but like, some things are worth sitting down, having a genuine conversation about, and talking through. And
Yeah.
those foundational things are there's what I'm talking
I
about.
think it just totally depends, of course, on the setting and the person. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's actually something I've struggled with, because naturally I have the same inclination that you guys are talking about. Like, you hear something that you just vehemently disagree with, and you're like, no, this can't stand. Like, I've got to do something about it. Recently, I've done much, I don't know, depending on your view, much better or worse, but I've done a lot better about that. Like, I just let it be, you know, not necessarily because I think the person's maybe right, but just because I recognize more and more that we all speak different languages. What resonates with me may not resonate with that person at the time. You know, I've had a lot of experiences lately, particularly at like church or Sunday school, where people will say stuff or will read something in a book, perhaps, that I vehemently disagree with. In fact, I find it to be terrible theology. However, everybody else sitting in the room is like, oh, that's really good. So I'm like, I don't know, I guess it's resonating with them. Like, I'm the oddball. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and let everybody do what they're doing. Maybe I'm wrong, you know? Like,
well, I was actually going to say this a while ago, but this is an even better way to say it. But so you don't get to come in Sunday school a lot because you teach Sunday school too. But
Yeah.
I've seen that of you, just, which I haven't been in there a lot lately, but over the last probably 6 months, I've seen you. I don't know what the right was. I'll just say sit on your hands when those things happen. When I'm like, which I'm sure I say stuff you probably want to say something too, but when the real heretics come out, the real heresy is spoken, you know, out loud for the world to see, and Sal's just like chilling over in his seat, and I'm like, I bet this is taking everything in him to do this. So I've noticed it. So it's like you don't know whether to pat somebody on the back for that or to worry about them. But it's just sometimes it's worth defending whatever you think's defendable, needs to be defended. And sometimes it's better just to, like you said, just to let them go. Anyway, my point is I've noticed that you, and even Sean, sometimes he goes after people. I'm like, that's not the right terminology either, but he goes to the defensive stuff and I'm like, I didn't even hear it. But then we talk about it later. I'm like, oh, okay. And then sometimes he lets stuff go that I'm like, you should not let that go. I think Sean should be doing all the talking for both of us when it comes to defending the theology or whatever. But anyway, I think that shows growth. And there's probably times when we don't do that enough. We don't come to the defense enough of good theology, maybe, to Sean's point. And there's other times when I think we rush too quickly. And I have noticed in both of y'all, whether it's I'm not the arbiter of when is enough, but anyway, I thought y'all both handled it more gracefully lately than maybe would have in the past. I don't know if that's worth anything.
I would more, for me, I take more of an approach of like people, the church community, the church that we attend is my community. These people know me and love me. Like, if you want to know my thoughts on it, ask me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but there's no reason for me to interject and tell you why I think you're wrong if you're not asking me.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to know, ask me and I'll tell you my thoughts and I won't sugarcoat it. I'll tell you exactly what I think. In a nice way, of course. I'm not confrontational. People don't come up and ask me questions. I guess I have a look about me that is imposing. People don't ask me questions.
It's 52s.
But
It freaks everybody out.
people don't ask me, but I'm more than willing to have a friendly conversation about anything. You know what I mean? But I don't feel the need to just interject myself when I'm not being asked to. Like, I've got a faith that works for me, and
Yeah. I mean, I guess when the setting is, which is the setting with our Bible studies and with our Sunday schools, like if the setting is we're all gonna just, because the way our Sunday schools work, or at least that one in particular, is like it's more like a Bible study type situation, and like it seems to me that we're all just throwing our opinions out there about what we're reading anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
So why not?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, I think for me, what I have found in certain situations, though, is that my opinion, my thoughts on it, is going to upend the class. Like, it's going to. There's been times that where there's been discussions happening where, afterwards people would come up to me and be like, well, we could have used your thoughts on that. You know what I mean? You kept quiet the whole time. And my response was like, I would have had to deconstruct so much to even begin to put input on what we were talking about that it just wasn't the place for it. You know what I mean? Even though that kind of is what we do, like, or kind of to the point I was making where everybody else seems to be in agreement, like, oh, this is really good stuff. Like, and they're getting something constructive out of it. For me to interject, it's going to be destructive. It's going to cause people, instead of leaving the class feeling edified, it's going to cause contention. People are going to leave confused, and like, you've just kind of got to be able to read the room with that and know when to. I'm really sensitive to it nowadays. That's something I've tried to focus on with myself, is I don't want to be destructive. I think people may have that view of me, but I don't want to be destructive. I want to be constructive. I want to help people feel edified. If I'm going to participate in church or Sunday school or Bible study or whatever, I don't want people to leave there feeling confused or hurt or damaged. Like, I want to build people up. And so knowing how to do that while defending good theology and everything is very difficult.
Right.
Yeah, well said. And I think you've done a good job of it, for whatever that's worth. You too, Sean.
I mean, seriously, I do see in myself a growth in that area.
No, I do too.
But dadgum, maybe not. I don't know.
But that's the thing is, like, for Sal, he feels good about the whatever, the new way of approaching it to try to be constructive and never destructive. But for you, maybe you're supposed to go in like a wrecking ball. There's really no right or wrong. It's just, again, to each person their own thing, what they choose. You know what I mean? You could go in every Wednesday night and buck something, and we'll argue about it all night, but that might be better than letting it go. Whereas Sal is only going to chime in when he has something constructive to say. I don't know. I think it's each person different, different thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a wisdom to know when to say something and when not to say something. And I feel like both of us in our own way have grown in that kind of wisdom. I don't, I definitely know that, like, in particular, there is a right and wrong way to approach those things. And I do feel like I've gotten better about approaching them in the right way, especially from like the first Bible study I went to after I sort of came out as an agnostic or whatever. Like even though I wouldn't have admitted it, or maybe wasn't even aware of it, I think like subconsciously I went in there to cause a stir. I was like, y'all keep telling me you want me to come. You want me to come? All right, I'm here. Y'all gonna hear what I have to say. And like, I just came with such a wrong attitude, you know?
Well, was it the wrong attitude? Because what my thought was you came in perhaps like a wrecking ball like that, but that was because you needed it. It wasn't about everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you had some contention built up in you that needed to be addressed. And like that's one way where my mind frame is kind of changed. Is like I'm more recognizing that my interaction with everybody else and my interpretation of everybody else is really just a mirror reflecting something about myself back at me. Like I'm trying to read the scriptures in that light, that like whatever I'm reading is about me. And I'm not saying like it's everybody should read about Nathan in the Bible. I'm saying it's a mirror, like that there's something in here for me that I need to glean for me personally that's reflecting an aspect of me. And so like that's what I'm really like as I'm reading, even trying to read some things that in the scriptures that maybe we would think we know what they're about. Like, well, what is this talking about in relation to me? You know what I mean? Like my internal state, my internal world. And I think a lot of that, what you're talking about and what we've all, the way that we interact with other people during classes is more so about our own self than it is those other people. It's about perhaps even subconsciously that I need to, like, if there's a topic or some sort of sensitive point, we should probably pay more attention to that. Why am I being so sensitive about that? You know what I mean? Because it's probably something subconscious within us that is we're questioning or struggling with, wrestling with. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess actually we talked about this a little bit before. Like, I'm with you on everything you just said. But I was just thinking back to all of this stuff that we've been talking about kind of actually ties into a little bit of what we talked about before Andrew got here. I was talking about that movie. And I said that one of the things that I came away with, I haven't finished it yet. It's the newest Knives Out movie.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen it.
I think it's called Wake Up, Dead Man.
Is that what it's called?
I think that's what it's called.
Well, I was fixing to watch the wrong movie.
Oh.
I want to watch it now.
But one of the things I came away with was, like, how do you fight without fighting?
Shoot first, ask questions later.
That was me 2 years ago or whatever when I first rejoined the group. I don't. There is a right way and a wrong way. There is a wisdom, a wise way to engage in those types of things into combat bad theology, hurtful. That's the thing. If it's not just that some of these things are like, oh, I don't agree with you. It's like, no, it's harmful for you and others to believe that. And that's where, because I do have sort of pastoral leanings. Like, I want to help people. I want to see the church and everyone there move in directions and move forward in a way that's healthy and that's not harmful. I do have that sort of like shepherding instinct to want to protect from harm. And so I don't know how to do that just yet in a way that isn't destructive like you're talking about, but also isn't not engaging at all.
It's a I mean, it's a really good topic, actually, that we didn't plan on, but like knowing when to or how to go about it, because it is something. I mean, I can give you a personal example about it, really, but I want to be careful about it because I don't want it to be intentionally critique. But recently in our Sunday school, we were doing that Advent book, and I want to say, first of all, I'm glad that we did it. Because like I'm glad to have the focus on Advent. We talked previously about not focusing on it and not really understanding what it was, and so I'm glad that we took the time to do it. But I spent a lot of the time that we spent in the class not talking about anything because it was heavy in separation theology. And that's sort of the crux of my entire belief, is that there has never been, nor will there ever be, a separation between God and man. Like that's literally what Jesus come to show, is like that there isn't, that God, the kingdom of God is within. Like that's the whole point. And so like whenever people were really going on about the separation theology and we're reading all the separation theology, I was just like, it was taking, like I ended up just sitting there not saying much of anything because I don't know what to, like, that's the foundation of my beliefs. You know what I mean? So like, how can I participate in that without deconstructing everything here? But then everybody else is like, oh, this is really good stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I don't know how to meaningfully interact in that conversation and come away constructive. You know what I mean? When I think the very basis of it is poison, really.
Right. Yeah. But this whole trajectory was my fault because I basically said at the top of this thing that whereas I was, before we talked like a week or so ago, I was like, you know what, I'm at a point where like I'm okay, I just want to put all this stuff into practice, and that's not necessarily not true anymore, but I guess I have realized that there are plenty of things still that I'm not deconstructing, but there are plenty of things that I don't know what I think about, and I feel like I need to. I feel like I need to at least have something to say about it.
You mean you don't have everything figured out?
Right. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be correct about any of it, but I am saying that like there are some things that like I really need. I personally feel like I need to have something more to say about this than I do right now. Atonement being one of them. There's different topics like that like I feel like I need to spend more time with. And so there is a sense of like, let's just live it. Like a sort of like a deep breath, sort of sigh of relief of like, there's no more battles to be fought. Like I'm just going to live this thing out now. There is a sort of sense of that, but then there's also another sense of like, no, I still do feel a little bit of like, there's some things that I need to figure out, and I don't know what that's going to look like. Because like we said before, anytime you look at something, you're going to change something else. Yeah. But like, so I kind of feel like I can go one of two ways. I could enter back into the fray, and wrestle with some more things, or I could do what we were talking about earlier, where you just kind of like stick your head in the sand and just try to live where I'm at,
Well, and what you're saying though is really more so what I was trying to get at when we talked about it previously. It's like I'm not in a space to where I think I've got everything figured out.
Right.
If you guys come to me and you're like, hey, let's talk about atonement theories. Hell yeah, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm always down for a theological discussion, but like if you're to come to me and was like, hey, what topic should we talk about? Well, heck, I don't know. Like I'm not really actively rethinking anything. I'm more in a mode of practice. So it's not like I'm not curious. It's not that I don't have questions that still need to be answered, but it's more so of like I'm not actively actively wrestling with like the big issues like I was previously. So like before, when you're like, hey, do you have a topic? What have you been thinking about this week? I'm like, here's a list of 85 things I've been thinking about this week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have that now, but I do have still a lot of questions. They just need probing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like
same as a perfect summary for where I'm at. Same way.
yeah. Well, like with all these things, there's seasons. It comes and goes, and like you know, um, like I said, I don't know. I guess there is a sort of like inner conflictedness because part of me does 100% think that like have like a sense of settledness, and a sense of like I just want to live this out now. But then there's also the sort of a little bit of a conflict inside of me still, too. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. But
I think you probably have to do both. And that's kind of related to what we talked about last week too, but that's what I wasn't doing is both, right? I was so paralyzed, spent a good portion of the last 6 months or more paralyzed by my own questions and uncertainties that I wasn't putting it into practice because I didn't know. I was overwhelmed with the uncertainty of everything. You know what I mean? But I think there's a sense of balance. There's a sense of doing both where like you're settled enough to still put it into practice and walk, and like you're not ignoring the practice aspect of it, but you're also cognizant of the fact that you still have questions that need to be worked out. They're just not paralyzing questions like they may have previously been.
start calling you Nathan the Wise. You've been full of wisdom today.
How many times have I told you that we need to record after I run? I literally never think better than after I run. So I ran, took a shower, and then basically you showed up here. Like,
Well, there you go.
So if Sal gets up and runs and I get out of the bed and come straight here, we agree on everything. That's what we need to start doing. Every time I come on, do it early. Let me just roll out of the bed and come sit down, and Sal go for a 20-mile run.
Yeah.
And then we'll agree about everything.
And I'll do none of that.
most of the times we record after work, and a lot of times it's like immediately after my work. So like I've literally just got done putting in like 8 hours of brain work, and then just been like, we come down here to record, and I'm like, at the time I'm just thinking, I could really go for a beer right now,
or a nap or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know I kind of took us away from what was going to be the topic, but yeah. That's just something I was kind of thinking about.
I like to think of it as allowing the Spirit to lead us and guide us in this
There you go.
conversation.
There you go. That's a nice spin on it. Well, so where do we go from here? That's the question.
That is a question.
What do you have, Andrew?
I could read you a quote if I could find it. I think it's interesting if we're going to go into the topic we actually talked about doing.
Let's do it.
We don't have to, but just if y'all wanted to.
Just under an hour in, finally getting to the topic. How about that?
We are.
I was going to say I think that's a record for us, but I actually don't think it is. Pretty sure we've been like an hour and a half in and then finally got to it.
Yeah.
Before.
I'm pretty sure y'all have done a whole episode and never even touched on the topic.
Well, that's true as well, yeah. But the ones in which we do get on the topic, there has been a couple examples of where it's like over an hour.
What I think is interesting about this topic that we had proposed is most topics, I feel like we come into it with not that I know the answer to it, but like there's at least I have a opinion. I have a viewpoint. Like, I don't know for sure what my atonement theory is, but I got some ideas on what I think it is. Or like, I don't know for sure my conception of the Trinity, but like I've got some ideas about what I believe. But this one is more open-ended. It's more of a question of like, how do you balance everything? How do you not burn out spiritually or familial or job? Trying to balance all of those things and keep a mental health about yourself, even, like, what do you do? I don't have an answer for that. I don't know that's sort of my focus. Me and Kelly were talking about last night, we were talking about goals for 2026 because, it's next week. Yeah. And I actually have a lot of personal goals for 2026, but almost all of them have to do with mindfulness and being present, being more present to myself, my family, my friends, my community, and just being not so burnt out all the time. Not so. It's just weird how when you feel that way, it feels like you actually have been missing life. Like you literally are like, where did the last 6 months go? How did this happen? Like I couldn't even tell you what happened in the last 6 months. It's like I've just been on autopilot, you know?
Yeah. Are you still searching for this quote?
I have zero forms of social media, so sometimes except for YouTube, sometimes on your YouTube, they'll instead of a video, it's a post, like the people you're subscribed to, and that's the only way I have to see this post, and I don't know how to find it.
You don't remember what the channel was?
Yeah, I'm on his page, but it's not on his feed. Like, I don't even know how you would do that.
Oh.
So that makes me upset.
Well, so like, why don't you? I mean, I guess that was plenty set up. I was going to say set up the topic. Like, what is the question at hand? What are we talking about?
I think the question at hand for me, to sum it up as succinctly as I can, is how are you present in all aspects of your life without neglecting one, or actually end up neglecting all of them because you're so stretched thin that you're not actually present for any of them, right?
Right.
Like for me, I want to be present as a father. For all of us, we want to be present as husbands. We all three of us, our spirituality and church community is important to us, so we want to be active and present there. We all want to be able to provide for our family, so job is important. Like, how do you be present for all of those things without allowing that to make you not present for any of them, essentially?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't either. I mean, I kind of said this, I think, last week, but like my current plan for the year, I think, is to try to manage my time better. But then even that can lead you to like if things are overly structured, that can lead to its own problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're somebody like me who probably has some sort of mental disorder, if you have things highly planned out and then things do not go according to plan, that causes even more chaos. That ruins everything. So if everything is highly structured, I'm okay with it as long as the structure is followed. But if everything is highly structured and the structure fails, then I'm a mess.
I don't feel like I'm as much that way. But yeah, there are definitely can be pitfalls to that as well.
So let me read this, see if this takes us anywhere. I'm not a Jelly Roll fan. I'm not a fan of his music, or then I don't know anything about him, but he was on Joe Rogan the other day, so I listened to it, because anybody that's not completely a crackpot, I listen to it. But in the podcast, he said, "We no longer search for happiness. We search to be useful. I just look to be a tool. Now I'm happy because I'm being useful." And the reason I didn't hear him say that in the podcast, because I was working, and I hear bits and pieces and don't hear bits and pieces. But the reason it came back up is because a guy that I follow on YouTube in North Carolina, who's a homesteader and a pretty big YouTuber, he's struggled with Lyme disease and all kinds of different stuff, and constantly going through something, seems like. And he said that he reposted that quote by Jelly Roll and made a big post about it, and I won't read the whole thing, but he said, "A boy takes, but a man gives. True meaning and purpose emerge when we serve others." And then quoted that Jelly Roll's quote, and it got me thinking about what we do serve. That's what we do. To both of your points, maybe, but also there's a balance in there somewhere, or at least we've been told there is, about what about me? What about my happiness? You know what I mean? And that's gone away more and more over the years of being a dad, but it's still there. I still want to go play golf or, whatever the situation is. And then I can look back at the last year and realize that a lot of that has faded a lot. A lot of that, what I want to do, actually what I want to do is a direct correlation between, doing something for my boys or my wife or whatever. The problem is, that's a good thing, I think. The problem is, I don't even know how to do that right, which is what you were saying. So, I don't know. But I'm more motivated to be useful and find joy in that usefulness instead of finding joy through my own personal goals or whatever than I've ever been. But I still don't know how to do that practically. How to be everything for everybody, I guess, is the right way to, or a way to word it.
Yeah, it's probably a good way to word it, actually, being everything for everybody. I think part of it for me, and this is why I said when I was thinking about my goals for next year that I really want to do a much better job of dedicating time to sort of meditation practice, contemplation, prayer time. Like really just making an effort to. That's what I'm talking about as far as embodying it. Like that's actually practicing the things I believe to be true, but I just haven't I haven't put it into practice. So that's something I'm really focusing on, is because for me, I feel like part of the feeling that I feel about missing things and not being present to things is because I'm always looking forward to some point in the future. Like I'm always looking forward during work. I'm always looking forward to getting off of work. And then when I'm off of work, I'm always looking forward to the weekend. And then I'm always looking forward to vacation. And I'm always looking forward to the next holiday. You're always looking forward to the next thing. Like you're never actually alive in the moment that is existing, because you're always somebody like me, especially, who's very all the time in their own head about like thinking about stuff, not really fully present in the moment, because I'm thinking about the future, what I'm going to do tomorrow, or thinking about my training plan for my upcoming 50K, or I'm thinking about theology stuff, or I'm thinking about what I need to do at work tomorrow in order, you know what I mean, in order to prepare for the holiday, or how am I going to pay for this vacation that I would like to take to escape my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're always thinking forward to the next thing that you're never really present. And the next thing you know, 6 months have passed and you're still looking forward to a future that doesn't exist yet. Like,
Yeah.
I think there actually is enough time, that we all have enough time in the day to do what we want, to be useful, to be a good father, to be a good parent, a good husband, a good Christian, or whatever, your religion is. Like there's time to do it, but you're not subconsciously. You can't do it in autopilot. You have to be present in the moment to do it. But that's how you do that. You can't, it's not something that you can just glide through. It has to be a conscious decision.
What the bad guy on John Wick 4, the French guy, he said, "How you do anything is how you do everything." I don't know where that came from. I'm a big John Wick fan. But the way you're talking about, you 6 months later, you're still looking forward to a future, and all the things you had been looking forward to are already come and gone, and you didn't even realize they had come and gone because you're never living in the moment. It's like we try to get everything done with but instead of getting I don't know. My wife wants to clean the house every night. It's like every freaking night she's spending 2 hours not sitting down with us or whatever, because the house has got to be clean. This is just a silly example, but that kind of stuff, like we're so focused on nobody's coming over. It's just us. What are you cleaning the house for? You know what I mean? She's doing the right thing. The house needs to be clean, but at the expense of something else. I could give 100 examples of me doing that. That was the first thing that came to mind. How, I don't know how you do the right things with the right amount of dedication without something else going undone. You think there's time? I hope you're right.
Yeah. I got nothing, guys. It's one of those things, like, I recognize everything you guys are saying. I just don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to, because like you, my mind is always going, thinking about things, and a lot of times I find myself not being present. Sometimes I find myself not being present because I don't want to be present for whatever the thing is. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a different situation. But yeah. I'm thinking about, think about how many times you've been on vacation, and it's a vacation that you've been looking forward to for 6 months, and halfway through the vacation, you're already looking forward to the next vacation that you get to take. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we're always projecting forward to even the times that we were looking forward to 6 months ago. When those times come, we're not even present in them. We're looking forward to the next one and I don't know how you don't do that.
Yeah.
And really, those are two different things. I mean, that's a big problem for me, but also kind of like going back to what I said originally about the whole Christmas. Like, I feel like I missed the Christmas season, and I made excuses for it because in years past, I felt like I was missing, like, Halloween always used to be one of my favorite seasons. Watch all the scary movies. I love that stuff. I was a big horror movie fan. And, like, ever since I started coaching football, like, pretty much forget Halloween season. You're at football practice. You got all kinds of stuff. Well, this year I didn't coach. I still missed it. Still didn't watch any of the horror movies, like, because that was just an excuse. Like, there's always is time if you prioritize things and, like, are actually present and dedicate, like, be present in the moment that you're in. I think that there is time, but that I was able to point to football and say, that's an excuse. That's why I'm not present. That's why I'm missing the holiday season. And if I just didn't coach football anymore, no, that's not true. Still missed it. And I think part of it is this, the mentalness of it, but I do think there is an aspect of life where we just have to start prioritizing stuff. Like, we do want to be, to your point, you said, be everything to everybody. You just can't. Like, you have to be able to be multiple things, but not all at one time. I can't be the best employee at my job and the best father at the same time. Just not happening. Like, while I'm work, I have to be the best employee I can. But when I'm home with my son, I can't be that best employee. I have to be the best dad. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to sort of prioritize those things, I think.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
that makes sense. I never thought about it. I mean, that was super simple, but I never thought about it like that. Whatever situation you're in, dedicate everything to that until it's time to be the next, instead of trying to be everything at one time.
To pull a scripture out of context, because
Yes,
why not? What came to my mind whenever you were saying that was when Jesus talks about serving two masters. You can't serve two masters. You'll love the one and hate the other.
And that, I mean, I hear what you're saying about out of context, but really it's not, because part of this conversation is, how do you provide a life for your family and be all of these other things and still keep one of the first things that burn out for us is spirituality. I mean, I'll be as transparent as possible. This isn't the only reason why I don't come to church on Sunday nights or participate outside of Sunday mornings, but one of the factors for it for me is because I don't have the time to, like, it actually makes me resent church. The fact that I only have Saturdays and Sundays, and I ended up spending my whole dang Saturday or my whole Sunday at church. Like, I have no time to breathe. You know what I mean? Like, it makes me resent it. Like, how do you stay spiritually not burnt out whenever you're feeling burnt out everywhere? You know what I mean? Like, that's part of this conversation. And you can't serve two masters. That's kind of the point. Like,
Right. Yeah.
hot take: we go to church too much.
it's not a hot take for me. I agree.
The bad thing about me is I feel like if we're having it, I should be there. I can't do the whole, no. But I wish I could.
Yeah.
Go.
I have some thoughts, but none of them are ones that I think ought to come out of my mouth. Going back to that whole wisdom thing we talked about earlier, knowing when and what to say and when not to say the things and all of that. I actually more so than here I am thinking about actually saying the thing or about to say the thing I said I wasn't going to say.
Leave him into his own demise. He'll do it.
I mean, I think that where my thoughts were going was not as much about the quantity of our services, but the quality. You know, the substance. I don't know if I should be saying that or not, but that's where my mind went. Is that I don't necessarily think that, like, I guess depending on how you're approaching it and like how, like, this is something that all three of us, I'm sure, have thought about. I know I've thought about 100%. I've talked to all of you about it. So, like, what are we accomplishing? What are we there for? That's the thing. And so, if we know this is what we're trying to accomplish and that thing is accomplished, then there's no need for extra, depending on what you think the goal is here.
Right. There's that, and then there is the aspect of, like, if you feel like you're getting what you need to out of it, it doesn't feel like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, where I said, I feel like I only get so much free time and I'm wasting so much of it, my whole Sunday's wasted away. If I felt like I was getting what I needed to, I don't feel like I would feel like my Sunday was wasted away. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, so it is a both quantity and quality kind of thing.
And I mean, I think more often than not, I do feel like I receive something that, I do feel like I benefit from going to being there almost every time the doors are open. You know what I mean? So,
well, I mean, there's a conversation to be had there about you get what you give. You put,
Right,
it goes back to what I was saying about everything being a reflection of your own self and a mirror. Like, just like looking at the Bible and the scriptures and saying, what is this saying about me? You know what I mean? Like, when I go and attend a church service, if I don't get anything at all from it, is that a reflection of the service and everybody else besides me? Or is it actually a reflection of me and what I'm approaching it with and putting into it? You know what I mean? So, like, that's what I think. That's why I feel comfortable saying what I said, because I'm not necessarily critiquing the church or the people in the church any more than I'm critiquing myself and saying, when I say I'm not getting anything out of it, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm not feeling like I'm alienating anybody by saying that, other than pointing the finger right back at myself. It's a reflection of me, Yeah.
I just didn't want anyone to mishear what I was saying as being as saying, like, our church sucks and like our services are
That's the soundbite right there.
Yeah, they're just gonna clip that out. But no, like, you know what I mean? Like, when I talk about quality over quantity, I don't want people to mishear me and think that I'm saying that, like, the quality of our services is trash. I'm not saying that. I mean, there's always room to, I think, for improvement on, like, again, it goes back to what you think the goal is, though. And if everyone's coming there with a different goal in mind, then I don't know what to do about that. But anyway.
Well, maybe we should do a topic or the next study. What is the purpose of the church?
What are we even doing here?
And do we need to do 3 services a week, 9, or 1 to accomplish that purpose?
Maybe
Because
7.
I bet you fewer people know what church is for than don't know what church is for.
I mean, I think it's funny because it sounds like a silly topic, but sometimes you just need to ask yourself the simple question, like, what are we doing here? What is the point of this? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
I think it gets even weirder whenever you actually look at the church in the early church, like even like going back to Acts and like what was going on, what they were doing, what they considered church. Like it wasn't what a lot of us are doing, you know. So I don't know, man. It's definitely a topic worth talking about at some point.
it is interesting too, because you kind of framed it of, if everybody's trying to get different things out of it, or everybody has a different goal in mind. And I do think that that's, in a sense, almost inevitable, just because we all have different visions of even what I mean, we all attend the same church and all have different, the three of us have different beliefs on certain things. You know what I mean? Just different, not necessarily church as a whole, but our theologies all slightly vary. You know what I mean? So like everything is different. Some people are going to get their purpose for church is going to be different than mine. You know what I mean? Like some people maybe are more focused, like when they hear that they need to focus on their prayer life, they're thinking about they need to start going to prayer service or whatever. And that's not what I mean. I mean the exact opposite. Like what I need more alone time. I need to focus. You know what I mean? Like those are two totally different things, but you can hear it. And
Yeah.
Need time to get zen,
Right.
meditate. Which is funny because it's Old Testament, especially David talks about meditating on your words day and night, writing the law, writing your law in my heart and all that. And we're like, well, I would, but I'm at church all the time. I don't have time to do that.
Right.
You got to give me some alone time to meditate and do all that. I don't know. I think church is great. I spent more time in church than the average person, that's for sure, over about 37 years. And I love church and I love our church, and I'll go if they have a surprise service tonight. I'll go. I'll probably show up. It's not that I don't want to be there. It's just like, if I'm going to go to church, I want to go to our church. But sometimes I think we just get into a routine of going to church and we don't even know what we're doing. It's just what we do. I mean, guilty. I'm pointing, like Sal said, I'm pointing that finger at me. I don't know what I'm doing there sometimes.
I think it can become a thing where like going back to like how you approach it, like if I could see wanting to have even more services if church is like a fix for you. You know, like if worship for you isn't your life, your very life lived. How does Paul put it? Present yourself as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. This is your reasonable service, your worship. This is, that's literally the word worship. It's worship. This is your worship. Your worship is to, sacrifice of yourself, to give of yourself, and that doesn't require you to sing songs, to get together in one place and sing songs. Like it's not, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like I love the worship in that sense as well. But if your idea of worship is only that, and you don't worship outside of those walls, then I can see wanting, if and that's what I mean by that, I guess is like if you're, I don't know how to put it. I feel like everything I'm saying is going to be taken the wrong way.
I feel like I understand what you're saying. I would say, and again, going back to pointing the finger at me and just looking, and one of the things that's becoming more clear to me as we have this conversation is perhaps part of the reason why I feel the way I do about church services is because the one thing that's lacking in my life is essentially the basis for this topic in general. The one thing that's lacking in my life is Sabbath, Shabbat, rest. That's what's lacking in my life. And so in that sense, when I am hyper focused on that the thing I actually need is some time off, some downtime. I need to sit on the couch for 2 hours with my wife and do nothing and not think about anything or stress about anything. That's what I need. Then attending church just becomes another hurdle preventing me from getting what I need rather than providing me with what I need. You know what I'm saying? So like I say that because I feel like there's probably more people that feel that way because life that we live nowadays in the year 2025 is so stretched thin. Everybody's working, like as much as possible. Everybody's trying to be kids. Everybody's trying to be involved in church. Everybody's trying to do this, do that, be everywhere at once, be everything to everybody, like Andrew said. Like the one thing that's lacking in our life is time to slow down, time to rest. It's Sabbath. Like I've always thought that was ironic that like we learn about Sabbath in the Old Testament and the seventh day of creation, God rested, and how sacred that time of rest was for, the ancient Hebrews. And then like our conception of Sabbath now is like jam-packed Sunday full of stuff. Like you don't even have time to make lunch. You have literally no choice but to go down to the Mexican restaurant where they're already overwhelmed and eat because you don't even have time to cook. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just more and more. It's like, that's not what I need in my life. I need some downtime. I need some time to chill. And that's ultimately what I end up spending my Sunday nights doing. I go to my in-laws' house and I'll sit on the couch and I'll watch some football. Maybe I'll drink a beer or two or 8. Just depends.
That escalated quickly.
That was a joke, by the way. Wasn't always a joke, but there was a time in my life where that was true. But nowadays, 8 beers will set me back a week because I'm too old.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just don't. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna say anything, I guess.
Which part? The time, the church, or the beer?
No, not the beer. No, nothing to do with the beer. I was gonna say something about church and time. I was just gonna, I guess, elaborate more on what I was saying before about like, I mean, if you're viewing church as just like a fix, like this is where I go to get, this is like what it means to be a Christian to me. This is what it means to, like, then I could see wanting to have more services. I could see wanting to attend more because it's like, I keep thinking of the term fix, like a drug, like, but I think that if that is the way that you view it, then maybe it would actually benefit you. I mean, keeping with the sort of addict analogy, maybe some withdrawal would do you good in a sense, maybe. Like maybe just continuing to feed that fix is not a good thing.
That's actually what you're talking about is one of the reasons why one of my pet peeves is why when we talk in church about the presence of God, God is really present here. As if we talk about it as if you can't experience God's presence unless you're in this building, unless we're doing this thing that we call church. That's where God's presence. No, God's presence is in you and everywhere else. There's no more of God's presence in this building than there is anywhere else on the face of the earth. And like, I understand why we use that language and where it comes from, but I find it to be so unhelpful because I think it feeds into exactly the mindset of what you're talking about.
I have to be here in order to experience God. Yeah. Whereas it really is just a matter of doing exactly what we've been trying to do, which is being present. What we've been talking about, being present, being in the moment, being intentional about the here and now. Like it's whenever you are able to get out of your head and whenever you are able to rest in that knowing, in that rest in his presence, you might say, like that's when you can become aware of his presence and enter into it in that way. It's not it has nothing to do with the building, it has nothing to do with the songs even. I mean, the songs can help get you there. They can help get you emotional and get you there, but like it's it's even the songs, like if you're not, what gets you, I think what the songs do is help get you out of your head and get you into thinking about the words. And that's what it does for me anyway. When I think about the words of the songs and what they mean to me, that automatically puts me in the moment. It puts me in the present, which then makes me aware of his presence, and I'm having church.
Which I think is what the Duffer Brothers were getting at in Stranger Things. That's why music it plays such a valuable role in the show. It pulls them out. Understanding from my perspective that the upside down and all of this is basically an inner world. It's a trauma response. Part of what can set your intention and pull you out of those deep, dark places when you turn inward is music. Like, music is a weapon in that regard, right? Like,
Right.
psychologically, emotionally, music is a weapon. That's why it's so powerful in church settings. It's because it is a weapon. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool elements to that. I don't know if you've watched Stranger Things or not.
Big fan, but I'm not done with it, so don't talk to me about it.
Yeah, well, I haven't watched all of season 5 yet either. But
Well, I'm like 3/4 through 4.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish 4 because I got freaked out there for a while. It got really freaky at one point.
season 4 is a little bit creepy. It was less creepy the second time I watched it than the first time. But
Well, what I realized is people who are like, I don't watch The Walking Dead. That's gross. That's scary. I'm like, you've never seen Stranger Things. This is way scarier than The Walking Dead.
yeah,
what I think makes it really, really scary is when you start to view it like what I was talking about. When you realize this show isn't actually about literal monsters. I mean, it's told through the perspective of monsters, but it's an exploration of our inner worlds and our the way that trauma and grief affects our internal view of life and ourselves, and how it can take over and make you a shell, just basically a puppet for grief. I don't want to, no spoilers because you're not there yet, but there's a very important line in season. You're probably not there yet either, actually. It's in season 5, but there's a very important line where someone will say something to the effect of their victims as puppets. And that I would interpret that as the person who said that it being the embodiment of grief and trauma. And that's what he's saying, is that when you allow trauma and grief to seep in and rot you from the inside out, it makes you a shell of you're still wearing your skin on the outside, but you're just an embodiment of grief. You've allowed that grief to change fundamentally who you are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you like view it through that lens, it's 10 times scarier, because you realize, like, that's one thing I've always told Kelly, that movies that scare me aren't like Conjuring or Paranormal Activity, any of these like super like horror movies. Like, to me, they're ones that are like, this is about me. Like, that's scary, because I know, like, that monster that I'm afraid of is a part of me. That demon that I'm worried is going to possess me is actually just a part of me internally. That's, you know, like, can become a part of me. Like, that's real horror.
Yeah. I think I just had deja vu.
That's cute.
You know what that means? Actually, I don't know if you know that.
That means you're entering the upside down.
Oh, crap.
One of the old Christ Gospel teachings was basically that. Yeah. Whenever you have deja vu, it's like a sort of like reassurance that you're on the right path. And we don't have to get into it.
Well, you threw me off because you said, I don't know if you know what that means. You didn't say, I don't know if you know what these crazy people thought this meant. No, I think according to science, I could tell you what it means, but that could be wrong too. I don't know. Yeah, that's a funny thing.
I believe in science.
I only believe in science.
No, that is one thing that always kind of gave me a little bit of made me feel good.
And I just completely crapped on it.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, It's fine. But it's like the way it was framed, it did kind of give you a little bit of like, oh, well, that's cool. It means like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And things are going the way they're supposed to be going.
Can you imagine though having deja vu when things were just
Yes,
god
exactly.
awful? You're like, oh, this is how things were planned for me. Thanks a lot.
This was the path that I chose in the loins of God. Okay. Yeah. No, it's yeah. We've talked about that before, but anyway. Deja vu.
I like it.
We really went on a tangent with the music thing. That really sent us down a rabbit hole there.
When did we start the music thing?
I don't know. You were mentioning something about music and how it can make you feel a certain way, and then I went on a tangent with the whole Stranger Things thing and music being a weapon. But
Yeah. Kate Bush. It's like a double-edged sword.
What's a Kate? What you said, Kate Bush?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
She's the one that does that song from season 4.
Oh, okay.
Real popular song.
I like Bush. It's like 90s.
Yeah.
'cause I don't want to come back down from this cloud.
Had the real Scott Stapp slurring your words things going on there.
Yeah.
Me and Cameron need to come on together and do another music episode.
Yeah. I don't know how we would, logistically, I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll figure it out.
Funny enough, to continue on the music tangent with Stranger Things and the quote that I just gave you about the puppets, what was the name of the song that Eddie played guitar to?
Master of Puppets.
No offense, but Metallica's like the worst band ever.
It's not offensive to me. I
know it's not to you. I'm wondering what Sal's going to think.
I like Metallica, okay. Older Metallica. Like, they're not my favorite band, but it's quite a stretch to say the worst ever.
I do think that's not fair to say the worst ever.
I thought that was a conservative way to say it. That's how little I think of them. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not a fan by any means, but I don't think they're the worst band ever.
I like a lot of their older stuff. I think it's pretty good. Kirk Hammett is an unreal guitarist. I think Hetfield's a pretty good guitarist, a solid vocalist. Lars Ulrich on drums, I don't really care.
I was going to say, do not even say that Lars is anything but.
He's the best drummer. Okay.
I don't hate his drumming. I think he's fine. Like, I'm not going to say he's the best ever, but I think he's good at what he does. It doesn't bother me. But I'm not a drummer. I'm not a musician. Like,
yeah. Never been a big fan of Lars.
I would take Joey Jordison in the condition he's in right now over Lars Ulrich. That's a horrible thing to say.
I don't actually get it, I guess. I don't know.
Oh,
he's not alive anymore?
Oh.
No, he's in heaven. I hope. No, I'm planning on it.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You didn't know that? Slipknot's new drummer, he's got a weird, crazy name, he's better than Joey. And I didn't know that existed. Check him out. He's good. Slipknot, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I never really got into Slipknot. I mean, I recognized that name whenever you said it, but
Joey Joyce?
Yeah,
you'd know him if you saw him on YouTube or something, because he's on all the... You would know him if you saw him, basically.
I ruined the joke, though. Sorry.
That's okay. Everybody ruins my jokes. That's how sucky they are.
I guess I could have just pretended I knew that I got it, but...
Well, I didn't know you didn't know who it was, or I would have known you didn't know he was in heaven, but... It was a shot against Lars, you know.
Yeah.
Rather have a dead guy than Lars.
Right, I got you.
Okay.
I understand the joke now.
But there are layers to it, because in one way you could say that Joey Jordison was such a good drummer that even in the afterlife he's better. Like, how much of a slight is that really to Lars? Joey was really that good.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Well, dadgum. What do we want to talk about now, or do we not want to talk about anything? What are we doing?
Do we want to talk about the Paul guy getting knocked out by Anthony Joshua? Because that was fun.
Jake Paul.
I couldn't remember if it was Logan or Jake. I don't know the difference.
Yeah, it's Jake Paul.
Logan is WWE.
Yeah.
Jake is an actual boxer.
Also WWE.
Also WWE version of boxing.
No, I actually didn't. I actually didn't watch it, and I didn't really have any thoughts. I just thought it was kind of funny because everybody was always talking about his fights being rigged, and then he like got his jaw broke.
Yeah, I still think it was rigged though.
It could have been, but I just remember I didn't realize. I guess because I don't follow boxing. I didn't really. That guy he was fighting Joshua is a freaking giant. Like he's huge. Like when I seen him standing next to him, I was like, "Oh gosh!"
I think they said he's 6'6",
and
240.
and he's built like a superhero.
Yeah,
like a legitimate action figure in flesh and blood. And when I seen him standing like at the weigh-in, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be bad."
His record's like 38, I think, in 4. Like
I've never even seen the guy box one time, and as soon as I just seen him standing there, I was like, "This is."
Multiple time heavyweight champion.
Probably in big trouble here.
Still, like, not like Tyson, like, still in his prime. Pretty well still in his prime. Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, boxing is one of the most rigged sports anyway, I think. But, like, in particular, I mean, the dude came out wearing, like, Hulkamania gear. Like, it's WWE. That's what we're watching.
I always thought it was silly when people would talk about the UFC being rigged, though, because like, I mean, it would be so hard to rig that stuff. Like even the wrestlers aren't that good at faking. WWE wrestlers aren't that good at faking what they do. Like these would have to be better than the WWE wrestlers at faking pulling their punches and taking punches and like. But boxing is different. You can fake that.
Yeah, well, especially because like it didn't look like Anthony Joshua even attempted to fight. And I mean, Jake Paul was like, he was kind of doing his little, he was running on his bike, is what some folks, is the term, would say. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really engage, and so Anthony Joshua didn't really engage, and like, I don't know. It was actually a very frustrating fight. I actually watched the whole thing. It was very frustrating to watch because, like, it also anytime. Like Jake Paul kept like almost looking like he was gonna go for a single leg. It was so frustrating. It's like you know the rules. This isn't the first time. Like this isn't the UFC, right? You can't do this. Stop it. Just quit. It was so frustrating.
I thought it was interesting. I didn't watch any of the fight. The only part I seen was the knockout. But I know that if I have a superhero standing in front of me, trying to punch me in the face, I'm probably not going to keep my hands down by my hips. May try to protect my face. I'm not a boxer. Seems like a smart strategy.
And
instead, he's like, "Oh, I'm backed into a corner with a giant man trying to punch me in the face. I think I'll just drop my hands,
right,
and get punched in the face."
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, there's a lot of fishy stuff that went on, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys heard this. I heard that Jake Paul actually said that Anthony Joshua broke script. Like he came out and admitted that like there was a certain way the fight was supposed to go, and he didn't stick to it.
I seen posts about that on social media, but I just assumed it was made up. But that's the thing is you never know what to trust and what not to trust anymore because of AI and social media. So,
and I don't know. I'm not saying that it was, but what I am saying is that to me it just all looked very suspicious. Like it didn't seem like either one of them were really engaging until the round like where he got knocked out. And he didn't actually get knocked out. He didn't seem like someone who was concussed. You can actually see it. I mean, that's what I thought whenever I saw. I was actually surprised they stopped the fight because, I mean, he technically, I guess he wasn't up for the count, but like whenever he hit the mat, he was like, he like laughed and like looked at Logan and said like, "Oh, that was a good one," when he got hit. I've only been knocked out or choked out a couple times in my life. I've never like landed and been like, "Oh, that was a really good one." Like I don't know, like I don't know, I don't have a ton of experience with it, but like that doesn't seem like someone who's just been knocked out or concussed or is like out of it. He seemed fully aware of what happened and where he was at and who was around him, and he did actually get up. Like, it was close enough where I was like, are they going to call it? But I don't know. There was just a lot of like stuff that was kind of fishy around it. So I don't know. I don't know if it was actually a setup thing or not. I don't know if it was supposed to be, and Joshua just maybe hit him, put a little too much on it, and it actually broke his jaw. I don't know.
What was the fight worth? Is $60 million?
I had heard estimates of 90-something million apiece for them.
Okay, so I'd say they're both doing fine. And
Yeah.
if they did fake it and it was supposed to not be fake, then shame on them. That's why I watch the UFC. But you're not faking that. There may be things fake happening, but overall, that's not fake.
The only thing I think you could fake is maybe the outcome. Like if you were like intentionally lost for some reason, you know.
I think the most that they can do, you would point to something like that and say it's fake, is not necessarily rigging how the fight goes, because anything can happen when you lock two men in a cage together, but setting up matchups that you know are pretty favorable to one person over the other.
Versus only who you want him to fight.
Right. Like, I think that the matchmakers can kind of decide who they, like, if you know, I think this guy's going to be a superstar. I think Conor McGregor's going to be a superstar. We want to set him up, like, to be a future champion. Like, you give him an easier path. Not saying that Conor McGregor had an easier path, but he's kind of one that kind of seemed to rocket to the top. You know what I mean? Like, you could give someone, because it's not like a tournament setting where you have to like win so many matches. It's literally just like get a couple of good wins, create some hype, then we'll throw you in there for a championship fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at Ronda Rousey, first woman in the UFC, never loses a fight, holds the belt for however long, defends the belt, defends it, and then a real fighter finally gets to the UFC after 7 or 8 women, you know, a real fighter, and actually the one that beat her wasn't actually a real fighter either, but finally somebody knocked her out. And then that chick gets knocked out and don't hear of her anymore. Well, now that it's been a few years, there's 100 axe murderer women in the UFC, but she was the first one. So she is who she is because she was the first woman in the UFC. I don't want to fight her. I'm not saying she's weak, but there is some storytelling and some WWE involved in that part of it for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, they are trying to sell tickets. You know, Chael Sonnen, his whole shtick, like, that is very WWE, like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But he made a lot of money, sold a lot of tickets, got a lot of fights that he probably really shouldn't have gotten just because of his, you know, his character, you know.
That was actually part of what one thing about UFC that kind of I ended up not liking about it was that I'm someone who likes very structured things in my sports, and it's part of the reason why I don't follow college football like I used to. It's because of the playoff. It's all subjective, who gets in, who gets out. It's all based upon these arbitrary rankings that journalists decide to rank people and all this crap. Like, that's what you don't have that in the NFL. It's you have a set schedule, you have set divisions. The winner of the divisions makes the playoffs. There's a set criteria for making the wild card, and then the playoffs are set. Boom, boom. There's no subjectivity in it. UFC wasn't like that. It was about selling tickets, like you said, you know. But
yeah.
Anyway, that was a little off topic, but
yeah. I don't know. I mean, the Jake Paul thing, I mean, I think as long as you go into it knowing what you're getting, then, like,
yeah,
it's fine. It is what it is. Like, I didn't really go into it expecting to see like a legitimate fight. What kept frustrating me was that Jake Paul, it was really his, like, why he kept, like, he wasn't just like he wasn't just like wrapping him up like I don't know enough about boxing to remember the technical term. Like, he was like not clinching, but you know what I mean. Like, whenever they like tie up, it wasn't just that. No, he was like like dropping down like he was going to go for a single leg, and like actually grabbing his leg. He didn't actually take him down, but like he was like, and that was just super frustrating to me. That was what was frustrating to me. It wasn't frustrating from the standpoint of like, I thought this was going to be like a really good fight, but like it does seem to me that like what Joshua did, and what was it, like, I don't even remember which round it was, the 6th maybe. Like it seems to me like he could have just done that in the first, right? Like we're talking about a dude who's has an insane reach advantage. It's much bigger, stronger, hits hard. Most of his wins are from knockout. Like, I don't understand how that wasn't happening in the first round. And Sal is leaving. And podcast is over, folks.
Well, he ruined it. We made him mad. He talking bad about Jake Paul.
I'm not really even talking bad about Jake Paul. I mean, it is what it is. Go get your money, champ. You know?
I couldn't care less about boxing. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, whoever he is, don't care.
I mean, I think as long as you accept that that's what it is, and like, I don't think it's that big a deal, you know? Like, yeah. He made tons of money, and that's what the goal is, you know? So,
as long as you're not
Can't
going
hate
in
on
there
him.
thinking, I'm fixing to watch Ali in his prime.
right.
That's a different sport. That's over.
Yeah.
Apparently. I watched the last boxing match I watched was Mayweather, Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And that was actually probably not anywhere near the worst boxing match anybody's ever seen. So I was glad about it. I mean, I thought it went good. The hype going up to that fight, the trash talk, all that. So some of the funniest TV you can watch. If you go back and watch the Mayweather, Conor McGregor camps going back and forth and tweeting and interviews and all that, it's so funny. Conor McGregor exploded the UFC. I mean, it was huge before anybody knew who he was, and then it went to a new level. It was. I mean, I watched more UFC before Conor McGregor was fighting than since he started fighting.
Yeah, same.
So I didn't need Conor, but it sure made it a lot funnier. He's done the funniest stuff you'll ever see in your life. When he won the second belt, the lightweight belt, and they didn't have his belt out there. They only brought him the one belt. He says, "Where's my other belt?" And Joe Rogan's like, "I'm sure they'll get your other belt." And Joe Rogan asked him a serious question. He's like, "I don't know. All I want to know is where's my other belt? Somebody go in the back and get my belt. This company's worth $1.5 billion. I want my belt." Funny stuff.
Yeah. Connor basically took I mean, there may have been others, but the one that is coming to mind right now is Chael. Like, Connor basically took the outline of what Chael did and just like went to the moon with it. Like it just like really took it and ran with it.
Chael's son said, "Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck." And then Anderson beat him twice.
You know what Stone Cold Steve Austin always used to say, the pro wrestler, about that what makes a successful character like that is if it's rooted in who you really are, but just turned up to 11. And like, I think that's what why Conor McGregor was successful at it, is because it was just rooted in who he is, but he just cranked the volume up to like overemphasize it,
Yeah.
Probably my favorite Conor McGregor line ever is they're all sitting on the panel, talking, and he's on the bottom, and Jeremy Stevens, whoever he is up at the top. And they said, "Conor, who on this stage could give you a real fight?" And he's just looking, thinking. Conor's, you could tell him, look, but he can't even see this guy. He's behind him. Jeremy Stevens gets on the mic and he says, "Me, when I knock people out, they don't get up." And Conor's like, and he sees him and he goes, "Who the is that guy?" Oh, the whole place, there's probably 100,000 people there just to watch the panel talk, and that's all just laughter.
Yeah, he was funny.
I want to apologize to absolutely no one.
Yep.
Oh,
Classic.
maybe if there's a decent UFC coming up. Maybe we should rent it.
There's some big ones coming up middle of January.
I don't pay attention to it anymore, honestly.
I'll holler at y'all. I got on to Josh the other night, Kirk, for never coming to my fights when he says he loves the UFC, so I have to find somebody to watch them with. So
Yeah.
come on down.
We used to run them all the time. I used to really keep up with it. Cared a lot about it.
Gaethje Pimblett. 3/24. I don't know what the date is.
Eddie?
It's 24th. And then you got Volkanovski, Lopez too, which I love both of those guys. Strickland, Hernandez. There's some good fights.
Yeah, I don't know.
Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira.
I recognize most of those names. Yeah, I know both of those guys.
Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest way to spell Gaethje I've ever seen. Gaethje. That's what it looks like to me. Gaethje?
Gaethje.
Gaethje? Anyway.
The J is silent.
It's like yogging. Remember that on Anchorman? I like to go yogging. Yogging. It's like jogging, but with a soft J.
Huh. Well, yeah, I'm sure everybody really enjoyed
Oh, they're
the last
loving it.
20 minutes.
They're loving it.
Here. Everybody definitely wants to hear us talk about Jake Paul and about UFC and all of that. Everybody.
People should thank us.
They probably would thank us to shut up.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, ready to wrap it up?
Good.
Have we said all the things plus some things that we shouldn't have?
Probably, yeah. As is generally the case.
Yes, I think that means